All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, everybody. All righty. So, our guest speaker tonight is Mike Warren with Recwell. He's going to come and talk about the Recwell outdoor plan. So, everybody give him a warm welcome, please. You don't have to if you don't want to. Well, for the recording, you actually might have to.
Do you need me to use the mic? Does it help? Yes? Okay. And then do we have a clicker? Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. As introduced, my name is Mike Warren. I serve as I have a privilege of serving as a senior director for recreation and wellness. To many of you in the room, you might go, "What is Recwell?" I hope the name sticks a little bit. For my 6 years at Purdue, many people just call it the co-rec. And I need you to know that, yes, let me see if this moves forward. So yes, we have this big, beautiful, world-class facility. And I was talking to a few students outdoors. We came up. I've been all over the country. I've worked for a previous Big Ten institution that did not have a facility that we have here on campus. And when I say that I work for Recwell, and you're saying, "Mike, why is it not the co-rec?" I need you to understand that we are so much more than a gym, that we are more than just physical well-being and the things when people think of a gym, we are so much more. And so in my 6 years at Purdue, I've pushed the name Recwell because I want you to think of us as holistic well-being, that we are not just a gym, we are so much more. And I've got this image here, and this may look like somebody here on campus, but one of the things when I see this is I see somebody that's connected to their phone, that's got their headphones on, that maybe isn't engaging in some of the social connection piece. And a huge part of what Recwell offers is social connection. It is finding your fit, finding your people, finding a place that you can call home. And it's provided in a variety of our different facilities, but also the programs that we offer. And we can talk about many of the benefits that our Recwell programs bring, from social connection. In our Steps to Leaps frameworks, you may have heard of this as kind of your network, finding your people. And as I just sat and observed you guys, as this meeting got started, many of you had somebody to talk to, somebody to connect with, somebody to whether you're talking about this work you're doing here, outside work, it's finding somebody on this campus that you can really connect. And I want you to think about this image, because as I talk about some of our programs, we went through many different signups, and one of them I'm going to talk about is intramurals doubles pickleball. And we threw it out there just for fun to see, hey, this is something that's getting really popular. It's the fastest growing sport in the country. And contrary to many people's belief, the number one demographic is 18 to 34. It is not seniors. And so as we think about this person signing up, we had 40 teams that couldn't find a partner to play. And that's a stat that I will talk about throughout this presentation. As one of the important pieces is, how do we connect students to other students? So a little bit of history going way back into kind of the 1960s, before your time, before my time. This is an image of an outdoor pool that where the Morgan Burke Aquatic Center is. You will see this used to be on campus. And when you look at this image, and I know it's a little bit grayed out, I don't think all these people are here to physically get fit, right? They're hanging out, they're connecting socially, they're playing some basketball, right? But I don't think their primary personal reason for coming was physical fitness. It was social connection, it was networking, it was having fun, it was relieving stress, it was taking a break from some of the tough academics that you guys go through. And so I love this slide, and I love bringing it back. And when I presented this last year in Naples, as we were doing some fundraising, some of the people remembered this place, and they talked about what it used to be and trying to make sure we create these social connection pieces outside of just being that gym. So a little bit about student involvement and belonging. This is some stats from Mike Seal's research in student life, talking about those that participate in our facilities and programs, how they feel more involved, they feel more connected. And so you see, that 95% in club sports and intramural sports, 90 using our facility, the co-rec. We're not just the co-rec, we have many facilities across campus. We've got the Goldfields, we've got the Boathouse, we've got out Northwest, we've got trap and skeet facilities. We have a variety of facilities, which is why I've tried to push the brand to Recwell from just the co-rec, more than being that building. Recwell's usage, I think when I share some of these stats, it's kind of mind-boggling to some folks. They don't realize how often that co-rec is being utilized. We're averaging north of 55,000 entries per week, right? Some of you may make up 5 of them in a week, right? This is just each swipe. This does not count those 22 career fairs that we're hosting. So if you were there today and you're like, I couldn't find parking, it was hard to get in. Yes, we had a career fair for our students. That is not included in this number. These are swipes just through our access control. So 2 years ago, we broke our record for usage, 1.53 million entries into the co-rec. Last year, we crushed it again with 1.79. This year, we're on pace to beat that number by close to 15%. I would love to hit 2 million. We're probably going to be just short of it, so hopefully we can just round up. So we had 2 million entries. We've got data that shows correlation, not causation, about how the heavier you use us, how it impacts your GPA. But again, I'm just trying to break your mind that it's just a gym where we throw weights or it's just a place to play sports. It is so much more than that. It is holistic well-being across all the different dimensions. As you guys, this is not a shocking stat for you guys, but Purdue enrollment is going up. When the co-rec was renovated almost 13 years ago, you can see that population was close to 40,000, right? That number has been increasing. As you increase that number, you can see this was last year's partner yoga. So I know we just passed Valentine's, but this was a special event we hosted, and you can tell that it was packed, sold out crowd. Really excited that we have these offerings, but what you're seeing is we're starting to turn away students that want to participate in our programs. So this year's partner yoga sold out almost immediately after that newsletter went out. I asked our team, can we do a second session? So we were able to get 240 people through our partner yoga program. Intramural sports registration, as I talked about a little bit, we were looking at some of these numbers, the increase in enrollment, the increase in some of the numbers. Here is just a couple years of data around our intramural sports program, and you're seeing the teams that are playing, which is awesome. But that second stat line, the outdoor numbers of 134 waitlisted team, this is something in my position that I don't enjoy seeing. These are 134 teams that wanted to play, but because of space, capacity, we weren't able to serve them. And so these are students that I'm not reaching through our programs and services, and it's part of the reason why I launched this outdoor master plan to try and figure out how do we serve those that we can't serve right now. If you look at the indoor numbers, you may say, Mike, like you looked at outdoor numbers, this is an outdoor master plan, but look at all those indoor teams. Some of those indoor teams you see were those 42 pickleball teams that were waitlisted. That is after I added almost 100 teams that we weren't going to serve, and we said we got to figure out a reason, find a way, time, space to get them in. So we're doing things, but the indoor study is probably going to have to come. I'm kicking myself a little bit, but coming out of the pandemic, knowing how important it was to get students outside, to have that social connection, that's when we launched the Outdoor Master Plan study. Now sitting here years later, do I wish it was comprehensive? Absolutely. But the Outdoor Master Plan, which you're going to hear a little bit about tonight, talks about some of these numbers and how do we continue to serve them. I did have them add in our this year fall data. So you're seeing kind of this pattern of increase across our programs. The gold fields, in case you don't know where they are or what those are, I'm going to see if I can click on this link. I'm hoping. So this will just give you a little drone footage. We all wish it was sunny and green right now. This is not what it looks like at its current time. It's a little bit muddy. But over this flyby, you can see where the co-rec is. You can see our indoor turf recreation center. You will also see some of the wear and tear patterns that our intramural sports has on these fields. So where you see this image right now going by, yes, that's a soccer field. And as time goes on, we wear that grass out. But I want to give you a little bit of a flyby so you know what we're talking about when we talk about the outdoor space that we want to create this master plan, this vision for. All right, I want to jump one more. Okay, so in Campus's long-term master plan, and for those that are familiar, master plans are ideas, they're visions. Things change all the time. As priorities change, as finances arrive, these ideas can always be changed. But in campus's master plan, there is a potential for a new road, and a new road coming off 3rd Street connecting up to Stadium. As you can see, that would impact one of the fields we currently play on. So I want you to make sure you connect those dots. When I showed you those wait-listed teams, whether that's soccer, flag football, ultimate, those outdoor teams, this road would eliminate one of the fields we currently play on. So that number would increase if we remain as natural grass fields. You will see in the bottom left corner a potential for a new public safety. And I'm going to say potential because, again, things move and change all the time. But in some of campus's master plan, this public safety building would go down on the corner of 3rd across from the new resident space that's being built. And again, we would lose more space to be able to serve students in the programs that we offer. You see some of the additional chiller utilities up on the top of it. And again, a loss of space. So as you talk about a growing campus, we need some of these amenities. They need to be on campus. But when you're in my role, you've got to ask, what can I do to save green space for students? Whether you just want to get out, disconnect from campus and be outdoors, or you participate in some of our programs, I've got to figure out how do I serve more students with potentially less space. So we hired a consultant, Smith Group. Smith Group has been all across the Big Ten in doing some different outdoor master plan. We engaged with students. Smith Group ran some different pop-up events trying to grab different student feedback. They also launched an app called Map My Boilermakers, where they could take direct student feedback into tell us how you recreate, tell you how you celebrate your well-being, what are some things on campus that you would like improved or help. But they took all this feedback, we studied it, we crunched it, and we came up with our outdoor master plan. In some of the benchmarking, and again, I'm shrinking an hour-long presentation into what I'm trying to get into 15 to 20 minutes so we can answer questions if you have them. But basically, we took the number of teams, the games, the wait-listed, weather, future demand, all that, they crunched it. And Smith Group came back and said, this is what we recommend. 5 synthetic soccer fields, 4 synthetic flag football, softball can be played in the corners of these complexes and places for ultimate, and this would help serve some of the demand you have. So this is what is posted on our website. This is the idea, the vision for those gold fields that we had that flyby. So down here on 3rd Street, you are going to see a pickleball complex. Again, with the explosion of pickleball, we have a student club that is very active. We have kind of 3 forms of it. In my terms, I call it open recreation. You just want to come out, hang out with your friends and play. That is one form. Then you have a recreational side of a club where it is more social, it is fun. You're going to come out, but you are part of that club. That club gets some reserve time so they can host different types of events. And then there's a competitive. And so there's 36 students that are on the Purdue's competitive pickleball. They play all over the country. They compete. They went from being in the top 50 to they are ranked in the top 10 in all 3 pickleball associations. They are looking for a place to play on campus. For those that are aware, the only place to play was McCaw Park, and that went under construction, and so that closed this year. And so they were in my office saying, hey, we need somewhere on campus. And so this is part of our master plan. Number 21 shows you that pickleball complex. Number 12 is a large synthetic turf complex. And this to me is probably the most important amenity for students. Again, being able to serve the volume of teams that we have that want to play, this would really help us play the number of games required and be able to turn over and not see that wear and tear damage that you saw in that flyover. So that number 12 is synthetic. Number 11 is another potential synthetic, but that is 20, 30 years down the road. It is just creating that idea. Up in the top hand corner, you're going to see Pickett Park, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in the next slide. But you're going to see walking paths that are surrounding these amenities. These are lit walking paths. So adding a little bit of safety out there where it can be dark on some of the weekends and the nights, this would give us a place to get out, to walk and talk with friends, create many different opportunities for outdoor rec. There is sand volleyball that is up at number 25. Again, that's an old version. Sand volleyball is extremely popular on this campus, and we originally had a larger complex where 21 was. And so we may be looking to add that out there where 25 is to increase the amount of sand volleyball courts available for our students. Um, Number 24 is the band practice field. As you talk about our band athletes, they are marching on an asphalt parking lot. This would give them a little bit more cushion. So as you talk about their body wear and tear, this would help them. It would give them a more real life like facility, as well as afterwards, our intramurals and clubs could come utilize that space with lights, be live on 3rd Street where you've got people walking by. Currently, they play a lot out at Northwest, and there's not a lot of students walking past them when they're competing or practicing. Lots of different amenities, happy to answer questions on it, but this is what that vision could look like, a little bit more realistic 3D rendering. You see that new housing complex already being built. You see that public safety facility and the space, and then you see what was the sand volleyball pits where we have pickleball now. But again, as these plans change, we do our best to update. Pickett Park is a little bit more of a well-being space. The first thing that would need to happen is Todd's Creek. So if you've been out there, you will see that it's kind of eroding a little bit, some of the space, and it's growing closer and closer to that sand volleyball pit. We have to stop that erosion, so there's a little bit of work that has to happen. And then how do we celebrate that water? Are there water features that we could put so students can get out there, sit by the water? There's a couple boardwalks that you'd be able to cross the creek or sit by, sit near it. There's an amphitheater, so whether you want to do poetry readings or have your student organization meet out there, we've got all sorts of different shelter options for students to just be able to disconnect and enjoy the natural environment. There is an idea of a tower. The tower has a really high vantage point where you could see all over campus. Being very straightforward, when I saw the price, I was like, oh, that's out of the reach. So again, these are just ideas and thoughts. But again, as students come forward, as our donors come forward, some of these ideas become realities. So interesting enough, when we started this outdoor master plan, there was only 8 pickleball courts. At that point, I think we had only 250 kind of in this pickleball club. We were seeing it in intramurals, but we really didn't know how much growth was going to happen. One of our donors who's very interested said, Mike, if you're going to do something, do it right. I want to see 16 to 20 courts. And I said, yeah, that's great, but I don't know if I can afford that. And he said, here's a check. So when you get some of the donor support, hey, we ripped out this rendering really quick. It looks amazing and awesome. But what I also want to show you is there is shelters for social connection. So in a lot of these different amenities, we're being very intentional. How do we create spaces for students to connect? I will say we've got a lot of excitement and momentum around our fundraising for this pickleball amenity. So we are on our way. I can't make a promise, but I think it is looking pretty good that we'll be able to get a considerable amount of funding to get some legs on this project. So again, the entire master plan is a lot of ideas and a lot of cost associated with it. As you guys are aware, Recwell does not have tons of funds where we can just go out and make this a reality for you in the next couple of months, which would be awesome. So we're going to try and look at how do we phase it, and phasing comes into what kind of fundraising support and donor support we'll have. Todd's Creek, pickleball courts, a pavilion, and turf band have a lot of interest. And so that's what we're looking at this point as phase 1. Phase 2 would be that large number 12. You see the synthetic fields where you can play soccer, you can play softball from the corners. We've got all sorts of different ways to utilize those fields. At this point, I want to open it up to questions. It looks like if we started on time, I've got about 2 minutes. We're okay? Okay. Yeah, jump in. It's the number one question I almost get asked is a tailgating experience, which I think is a good question. So there's all sorts of options, but we've been kind of watching how much space gets used for tailgating. When I talk about this box, I don't know if I got a laser here. Nope. I'll fast forward to the end of that slideshow. That was impressive. When we look, can you see my mouse? This is so far out and in the distance. it's not a reality probably in my time and in the next 10 years. It's just an idea, that vision. So there's plenty of space for the football experience to continue. We still support that on game days. There'll be plenty of parking. There's also some additional space out near Northwest where if we were to displace things, we could make that a reality to continue that experience. Yeah. So I will say we're in some conversations with some amazing alumni who want to support this. And I think the timeline is really based on funding and gifts. Um, I will say that Reckwell is trying to support some of the growth through cost, but how much is very limited. And so if they step up, I would hope, in a perfect world, we could get to the board of trustees hopefully by the summer. And then most likely you're still talking year and a half to 2 years to get things built. Again, I'm not as familiar on Purdue's campus, so I would defer to our administrative and operations teams for that answer. But the sooner we can get it done, the better for students. The reason, and nobody asked this per se, but the reason why I'm passionate about getting pickleball in, it's one of the few sports that is more social that anybody can play. And so, interesting enough, there's a big lunch hour group that plays, and you'll see anywhere from retirees to faculty to students all sharing the same court, all laughing, all having fun. You see all skill types. It doesn't matter if you're a first time or not, but trying to specifically and intentionally program pickleball for more social atmospheres where you're meeting, you're greeting, you're moving on to that next group. Yeah. So in this rendering, it is 16 courts. In Oh, I go too far. In this, we show a potential for a covering. Again, that may or may not happen. That just allows us to kind of extend the seasons a little bit longer into December. But this shows 16 courts. It shows kind of a central spine so we can get some social connection in there and still be able to host some events. It is right next to the band practice field. So, for example, if band had to use it for different types of events, we can make it multifaceted. But the idea is to kind of create some universal spaces for us to program. In the background, very top, you will see another large pavilion right next to band, right next to the tennis, trying to get power and Wi-Fi for students to be able to get out there, hang out. I know for game day, there are quite a lot of operations that happen through there, so it will support some of your Saturday experience too. Yeah. Oh, again, in part of campus's master plan, that is the potential for that public safety. So again, those plans change. It's not set in stone, but yes, that would be the idea is if it was to move down the street. Yeah. To yeah, you're asking the wrong guy on the technical side of it. So in the drawings, did I go past it? So number 7 and number 8, a future chill yard. So if you go out in the summer, which a lot of students are gone, they bring in some temporary chillers to help with campus, and those far exceed into the gold fields. I think it's just making that more permanent. And then the number 7, the thermal energy storage tank. You guys would know better than me. I think of it as a big water tower kind of thing to store water. So, again, I know it's needed by campus, and so us trying to support that absolutely, but it comes back to my role is to stand up for students and their voice to say, how do we play more games? How do we create this space? Well, Smith Group came back and said, unfortunately, it's synthetic turf. Um, yeah. Yes. So, yes. When you ask about the tennis courts, so for those that don't know, when McCall went down, there was nowhere to play pickleball kind of in our area. And so we had all these club members. We also have some overcrowding in the co-rack where pickleball and badminton players battle for space. And so I made the decision to take two tennis courts off and create six pickleball courts temporarily. And so we will use data to drive that decision. My goal is not to take any more tennis, to not displace tennis players because those are heavily utilized, but I also wanted to offer diversity in programming. So if the 16 are built, we would then look at the data. The intention would be to move it back to tennis as long as there is bandwidth, but we would measure everything to make our decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So the question was in phase one, why those amenities? So in order for us to expand Pickett Park, for us to add some of those amenities, which we do have some donor funds sitting in our accounts, Todd's Creek has to be dealt with first. That erosion issue, it lets us kind of relocate some of the sand volleyball pits. The pickleball courts, we have two large donors that are very interested in it and have committed funds to making this happen. And so again, it's donor driven, but I will also say a lot of the students that I talk to and we see and through some of our surveys are pushing for this to happen. The pavilion and the band practice, again, donor support and being able to hit. And so this may be an easier reach than what the costs are for that five synthetic complex. So a little bit of the finance and the support drives it. Mhm. Yeah. Great question, and thank you for asking that. I think each of you play a unique role with your representation and being able to talk to students. Again, my job is to be the voice of students. Recwell is not, we are led by students. We have 800 student employees that manage and operate our facility. It is not what per se the pro staff thinks. It's us taking the data and being the stewards on you. I think you guys all serve a role. And if this is something where you think that you're hearing it from students and you want to see the students served, you have to use your voice. I will say on our website, we also have a little bit more information about our master plan. This PDOG, I'm constantly fundraising. And so again, I don't think financially that is your role whatsoever. You know, if you have it, that's great. But it is more about the awareness and making sure other students know. And I think it's also voicing your opinions. So if there's things that our master plan is missing, and again, I didn't cover everything. There's this little hammock village that I like in there, and the idea of you just go to the co-rec, swipe your ID, grab a hammock, 3 hammocks, go hang out together out by Todd's Creek. You know, I love that idea of you just having a social well-being space. It's bringing that voice to us to make sure that we are plugged into what you guys want and what you see as the need. So I would also communicate if there's things missing, please let me know. Um, Again, this is your outdoor master plan. This is not mine. This is for students. Thank you. Yeah. So we have multiple layers of kind of data collection. Again, Recwell is within student life, so student life has a data collecting unit. Right now, we're working with the data mine, and so they're processing a lot of our data, and we have tons of data from swipe data to participation in all of our programs. And so I will say it is looked at quite a bit. I think when it comes to the master plan, um, that data is still being driven by kind of some of what we see on a day-to-day basis. So we have heat mapping that kind of goes on within the co-rec where we can take a look at court usage, badminton to pickleball. We can also pull equipment lending to see how many rackets are being checked out. But again, it's not 100% accurate because if I bring my own paddle or you bring your own badminton racket, the counts definitely. But lots of times over the summer, our senior leadership team meets. We review a lot of the data collection. Um, when it comes to this outdoor master plan, that synthetic turf, if we see a large increase in funding from donor support, we would review that heavy intramural data because, again, a couple years to now, our numbers have increased so much that we may have to look at it one more time to make sure is this data still accurate from where it is. But data has to drive our decisions, and that we can't get anywhere without proving this is what students are using and this is what they're asking us for. Great question.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Jacob, just wear them in. It's on. I gotta turn my
All right. Cool. We good? All right, we good. All right. So you guys repeat after me, okay? All right. I. At the same time, please. From here on this 26th day of February, 2025, swear to abide by and uphold the Constitution and the bylaws of the Purdue student government. I swear to conduct all legislative business with the utmost integrity and with the best interest of Purdue University and its student body. Purdue University and its student body. As my main objectives. Congratulations. Thank you.
At 7:41, I will now call this meeting to order. First, we'll get started with our introduction of visitors. If you're a visitor, please state your name and then who you're with. So if I'm with the exponent, I'd be like, I'm Olivia Mapes, I'm with the exponent. So exponent, you can get us started.
My name is Suzanne Elia. I am kind of here with something called Purdue Votes, but I'm also just here as a concerned student. So.
I'm representing PGSA as the president and also host two organizations stronger together for one of the legislation.
So Nuther, and PGSA queer graduate student, or queer graduate students. I'm Levi Lee. I'm also from the Queer Graduate Student Association and also Purdue organization Stronger Together. We're here to support the anti-SB 289 legislation going on the floor today.
Any Senate Associate members?
I'm Anna Heck, and I'm a Senate Associate Member with the College of Ag.
I'm Wiley Frederick. I'm a Senate Associate Member with the College of Pharmacy, and I am proxying for Senator D'Isabella today.
I'm Riya Sharma. I'm a Senator Associate Member for College of Health and Human Sciences, and I'm proxying for Senator Walker.
Do we have any additional proxies or Senate Associate members? Okay. I will now take roll call. Senator Martin. Here. Senator Kaufman. Here. Senator Williams. Here. Senator Wolf. Here. Senator Blazek. Here. Senator Garcia. Here. Senator Ali. Here. Senator Grossman. Do we have a proxy? Okay. Senator Eamon. Senator Muscarella. Senator Katagari. Senator Walker, we have a proxy. Senator Hugh. Senator Halder. Senator Rice.
Here.
Senator Benford.
Here.
Senator Bester-Pauli. Pro Tem Monkholm. Senator Lechewski. Senator Abusada. Okay. Senator Poyer. Senator Hijaz. Senator Ignacio. Senator Ramazami. Senator Koteka. Proxy? Do we have a proxy for Koteka? Okay. Senator Bergen. Proxy for Disabella. Senator Liu. Senator Ketcher. Here. Senator Nirmal Kumar. Correct me if... Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, perfect. Senator Kucera. Here. Senator Stefano. Here. Senator Simonoro. Here. Senator Kalangari. Here. Senator Shankar. Do we have a proxy for Shankar? Okay. Roll call has concluded. We will now move into the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional homelands of the indigenous people upon which Purdue University is built. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers. Now we move into our pledge of purpose. Senators, please rise. Our purpose is to be the voice of the Purdue student body, serve the needs of students in all university matters, and provide leadership that stimulates initiative, inspires excellence, and exemplifies professionalism. And above all, hail Purdue. Okay, the meetings were distributed from the last meeting by Pro Tem Monkholm. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. Now moving into advisory reports. Brian?
Just one today. On March 10th, Rising Professional Student Organization is having a series of panels from 1 o'clock to 2:15. The topics are women in leadership, navigating the adult world, and engineering in motion. So if anyone is interested in participating or knows anyone who is, I can provide you with those QR codes. Just let me know.
Now moving into executive reports. President Packard.
Yeah, so we've been up to a lot. We're spending like crazy, on track to spend all the money by the end of the year, which is very exciting. The cabinet will have no money. Yeah, so I'll let Becca talk about the LIFT program, but the Lifeline Law is probably going to hit the House soon. And yeah, there might be an amendment, there might not be. Me and Becca have a disagreement, but we might take out the part about public in-talks. So that's something, but it looks like it'll go through, which is very exciting. And yeah, AI advising is going well, and then I'll let Becca talk about LIFT.
Yeah, Jason and I will resolve our disagreement. But yeah, it's been assigned to courts and criminal code, and so that will hit the House likely next week. The senator who's the chair, or the rep who's the chair for that committee, is the first sponsor on our bill. So things are looking up. LIFT program, Senator Abusada has been leading that one. We're looking to restart the LIFT program. We'll see how much the budget will allow for, but it was a program that existed 2 years ago, and the student body was very fond of it. So it's just discounted LIFT rides, basically. Also, if you guys have received an email back from your dean, your assistant dean, or their executive assistant, please make sure you're answering those emails and setting those meetings, pretty please. Okay. Chief of Staff Eli, Elections Director Aide, Interim Secretary for some time, Interim Treasurer for some time, and M-Hall President now?
You got them all right.
Okay.
Kind of. You've got EC Ambassador.
Oh, my bad,
I'll
my
let
bad.
you off. Oh yeah, and more board.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'll continue. Elections is going good. for those that are running, you kind of saw me crash out on Monday because BorderLink was not working, but we solved it. I made the executive decision alongside our advisor Brian. I interrupted his lunch break to talk about it, so I'm sorry. But we changed everything to Qualtrics, and everything is just fine now. Uh, I haven't received any nasty messages or emails from candidates or those connected to campaigns. So today was a good day. Um, Thank you. For Chief of Staff, Mental Health Action Week kickoff, the PSG sponsored event for M Hall, is happening Monday. On the sign up sheet, I could be wrong, but I do not see any senators signed up. It is a PSG event. All of you are all members of PSG. I expect you to attend the event. One thing that you guys could do that I'm proposing is I know Senator Rice was in contact to talk about her mental health day bills there, but I'm not sure how far that's went through. But what you could do is we could set up a table for you with a sign that says "Ask your senator a question," something like that. And you just sit there, and students come up and they ask you questions about PSG, about your role, about things happening on campus. It'll be a pretty happy and a welcoming environment, so hopefully you won't be asked anything crazy. Most likely it'll be related to mental health or MHA. So if any of you guys are interested in doing that, please reach out through Slack or meet me after the meeting, and I'll put you down. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Pro Temp Uncle?
Nothing really to report. Big thing though, like Brenda said, make sure you're meeting with your deans. Those conversations are actually really crucial to know like what's going on administration wise in your certain college. I know like us businesses, we talk to our deans, very productive conversation, and take it serious, like have a good meeting and report back to the Senate. That's really important. Other than that, make sure your communication is with the increments in Senate. I understand things come up, but communication. That's it.
Treasurer Springer?
Just a couple updates for you all. SFAP deliberations have concluded, so hopefully by the next Senate session, I will have the report ready and in bill form for you all to approve. And then other than that, just trying to catch up on the budget and get as accurate as a number as I can. So it should be getting pretty close to accurate.
Secretary Tama Reese? How do you say? Correct me. Tommy Rasa. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Our potential new secretary of the bill is hitting the floor tonight.
I don't have anything to add.
Press Secretary Gonzalez.
So tonight I am in my last night as interim secretary. So sad. Excited for our potential new secretary. Main updates is that on Friday the next Boilermaker briefing should be going out. So that will be good. If you guys have anything that you would like in that briefing, please send it to me ASAP so that I can do all the tests, etc. But other than that, just, yeah, keep me in the loop if you're doing events because I can help people know about them.
Chief Justice Pranger.
All right, so first thing, I put this in the chat like I think 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. But signups for court, it's like as part of your Senate duties, you have to go to a court session. We've had a good few people sign up. For those of you who haven't, I am reposting the link in the Senate channel right now. So please be sure to sign up if you haven't. If you have any scheduling conflicts, just let Becca or anyone know about that. In terms of other updates, on Monday, as Eli can attest, we went through the election rules, the entire document, with court to get them ready for grievance hearings, everything like that. I've given them past resources to show how it works, or prepare them best I can. You really can't prepare people for elections, but I'm doing my best. But yeah, that's pretty much. Oh yeah, right. I've floated the idea of a Lifeline Law Education event after all the Indiana State House shenanigans the House has done. Becca and I flagged down Chief Weedy after coming to our sociology class, and they're very interested in doing it.
So that's hopefully going to happen sometime after spring break, but we'll keep you posted. But that's all I have for that.
Wait, Paige, did you have something else?
I remember the previous thing I also needed to share. That we are going to, during the week of March 10th, tentatively, there will be a press conference including representatives from PSG, from Indiana student government, and Butler student government talking about Indiana Senate Bill 10, which is about the voter access, where we're going to be sharing how we believe it's important for students to be able to have access to vote. And if you're not aware of Senate Bill 10, it's the one that makes student IDs in the next election cycle not a valid form of identification to vote. It must be an Indiana state like ID or like a US passport. So I'll keep you all posted if you guys want to tune into that.
ABTS liaison Steve's.
We are going to the conference. If you have any questions about it and you're here, please come up to me in person and ask me the questions. I'm much more charismatic in person than I am on Slack, and I can answer your questions better. Yeah.
Senior Policy Advisor Kotaru. I don't know if she's taking that. VP ND Shakina? Chewendo. I don't think Chewendo's here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, also additionally, AI advising is getting going. Jason, do you have any comments on that or no? Okay. AI advising is getting going too. Dev team has formed. Okay. Any additional executive reports? Seeing none, moving into committee reports. Senator Halder?
Hi guys. Constitution review is still in progress. It should be done by the next Senate session, if not the one following that. And there's no IA legislation on the floor tonight. Thanks.
Financial Affairs, Senator Grossman. Does somebody else want to speak? Yeah.
So I'll just doing more small grants. We've already doubled the amount we did last semester, so that's been pretty good. Over $10,000 already. If anybody knows any clubs that are small and need some money, let us know. Yeah, and Olivia, I think, has something to add as well.
We're also working on collaborating with Boiler Financial Track to do some sort of financial literacy events, maybe centered around tax day or just in general. So
yeah, I believe they came and spoke at a Senate meeting last year. Senator Rice, they did. Yeah, I remember them coming and speaking at one. Perfect. Senator Rice.
Not much is different from previous weeks. Still the same sort of projects. I do want to shout out Senator Walker and Rhea, who have made a cool thing possible. There are traditional vaccine clinics that happen every fall at Purdue, and now they will be happening in the spring as well. So I want to shout out to them for that. It won't be formal legislation, but it is happening. And then we've got two bills on the floor in reference to, as Jacob pointed out, the State House shenanigans. But come ask us questions if you have any.
Senator Poyer.
To report this time around, we don't have any legislation on the floor today, but we're continuing to work on our Narcan legislation, as well as meetings with the Center for Career Opportunities and Office of Undergraduate Research, hoping to hold a joint outreach event with the CCO after spring break.
Okay, ad hoc updates. Senator Williams, Lifeline Law? It doesn't matter. For Senator Ramaswamy, food accessibility? And then Senator Isabella, I don't believe is here tonight. Okay. Now we're going to move into informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2519?
Yeah, I'd like the secretary just to give a little introduction. Your major, all that good stuff. Why you want the position.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Riddhi. I'm currently a junior in computer science at Purdue, also pursuing a minor in economics. And the reason why I wanted to be the student government secretary is because obviously I saw the email in my Outlook, and then I kind of looked into the student government, saw a lot of cool things that the government was doing, and from there I found that I was like I had a good skill set to keep track of all the meeting minutes and make sure that what the student government is doing here is being communicated to the rest of the school. So I'm also part of an organization on campus called Boiler Consulting, and when I ran for social director, my platform was based off of transparency, and I'm kind of trying to bring that same level of transparency within the student government and the general student body here today, and so forth.
Any questions? Okay. Any informal discussion on 2520? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any informal discussion on 2521? Any informal discussion on resolution 2502? Any informal discussion on resolution 2503? Okay. Seeing
Sorry,
no.
Rebecca.
Oh, sorry.
Just looking at this, I believe that there needs to be possibly, this is not something we could mention because we didn't realize it until after caucus, but the bill is, there's actually a resolution. Like, it's a resolution to the bill, so by saying this without putting, like, opposition to Indiana SB 10 resolution, I fear that we're opposing the entire thing and some of it already exists.
Sorry, can you clarify that question?
So, hello? Okay,
Yeah.
it's on. So it's in a bill to amend the Indiana code. So like if you like look at the bill, I'm pretty sure like what's bolded is what's being amended. That being said, I don't think that like we should be imposing the entire bill in the wording, but rather like opposing the amendments of the bill.
Do you mean that we shouldn't be opposing SB 10 in its entirety? And should instead this resolution should be recommending that the state legislators amend SB 10? Is that what you're I think I might be misunderstanding. Or are you referring to the amendments on the PSG resolution 2503?
No, the amendments, we're referring to the actual Indiana Senate Bill 10.
Right,
and
okay.
That already exists, but what you were mentioning earlier was that disagreeing with the actual student ID portion of it, which is an amendment to the bill. So it may be worth clarifying in this that the bill is actually opposing the amendment to the Indiana State Bill 10.
So the reason that Nicholas and I specifically were addressing the student ID aspect of Senate Bill 10 in the Indiana General Assembly is because as PSG, we represent that specific constituency in the state of Indiana that is most directly affected by that specific part of SB 10, but there are other parts of SB 10 that also limit voter accessibility in the state. So the sentiment, though we focus in our specific articulation in this resolution on the student aspect and the student IDs, the sentiment behind it still remains for all of the other parts of this. So we're still encouraging our legislators to listen to us as representatives of a large part of their constituency to oppose the bill in its entirety.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yep, I just wanted to ensure that, because as you were mentioning, it seemed like you were opposing the amendments. I just wanted to ensure that makes sense. If that's
No,
what
we
you
were
guys...
just focusing on that because that's kind of within our jurisdiction as student representatives.
Okay.
Do I hear any additional? Yeah. This is just informal discussion. You can speak. No, you're good. You're good.
All good. So yes, SB 10, it's practically exactly what's being said here about the student identification as a valid form of ID. I personally major favor to this because trying to remember off the top of my head, press team's been doing some research on the statistics on how many students are impacted by if this happens. One of the main things to consider is that if you do not have a driver's license in the state of Indiana, or if you don't have a passport, but you still wanted to vote while you were living here, this bill could make that much harder to navigate, which for a lot of out-of-state students like Purdue and IU and other Indiana schools have. Yeah, it's a problem.
Sure. Yep.
non-formal work. It's my first time at a Senate meeting, guys. It's great to be here. Yeah, so I'm mostly here for SB 10. I'm also in opposition to SB
289.
Great, all of the numbers. So I'm in opposition to SB 10 because I personally saw all of the barriers to voting that students already have to navigate. Most people don't even know that they can vote as a student in their student area in which they live. We're here 9 months out of the year. We are considered living residents, and we have the right to vote here. Most people don't know that. They don't know how to get registered. They don't know when to get registered. They don't know what to use to register. They don't know what they need to bring with them on like actual voting day. So an act like this would not just like create like a harder environment in which to vote, but specifically for Purdue students that are out of state because they cannot easily get an in-state ID or a passport, or maybe they would have to ship their passport from home because they don't have it with them. And I just have personally like dealt with a lot of like confusion on this, so adding more confusion on top is just going to limit the number of students who even try to vote. So it's like a narrowing path. So the people who want to vote is already not everybody, and then the people who know everything is really, really narrow, and there's not a lot of people who know enough about all of the different things for voting because every single state is different, and county for that matter. So this is really, really important to make sure that student voices are heard, student like ballots are taken, and it's super duper important. So
Yeah, for sure. Do I hear any other informed discussion on Resolution 2503? Okay. Seeing none, moving into unfinished business. Do I hear any unfinished business? Seeing none, moving into new business. Do I hear any new business? I will entertain a motion to bring up 2519. It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2519, Secretary Appointment of Reedy Tamarasa. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Do I hear any debate?
Let's stay at caucus. I think Reed's very, very qualified to be your next secretary. About to interview like Louis out the water for like a club position. So I'll be voting in favor.
Okay. All right. Seeing no additional debate, we will move into a vote. Paige, you want to drop it in the chat? No, you're good. Ignore the 10, guys. This is 19. This is 19. 19. Okay. Bill 2519 passes. Do I hear any additional new business? I will entertain a motion to bring up Bill 2520. It has been probably moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2520, Count an Appointment, Executive Director of Health and Safety, Luna Villanueva. This amendable and debatable requires a majority vote. I will now open up debate from senators. Do I hear any debate?
I just wanted to say that Luna helps me out on the secretary ad hoc committee, and she's always been so helpful and has helped a lot with collaboration with health and safety. So I think she'd be great as a lead.
Do I hear any additional debate? Seeing none, we will move into a vote on Bill 2520. Paige is dropping it in the chat. Bill 2520 passes. Do I hear any additional new business? Yes.
I move to bring up Bill 2521.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2521, addition of a global food systems education course to university core curriculum selectives. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Do I hear any debate? Yes, Senator Rice.
I'm going to be abstaining on this bill. From the research I've done, I know there's a lot of courses that Purdue already kind of offers about topics similar to this. I'm not in ag, so I don't know enough to know if those are different enough to what this course would be. So that's the main reason why I'm abstaining. I also think Jaden was conveying the concerns of some other people who had this idea initially, but I think those people should have polled the students first to see if there is student interest, especially outside of the College of Ag, in this course. And I think that there should already be a plan for someone to teach this course and develop the curriculum before we recommend this. So for those reasons, I'm going to be abstaining from this vote.
Pro Tem Montcalm and then Senator Copeland.
I'd argue the point on student interest. I feel like there's a lot of core curriculum classes that we aren't interested in as students, but are required because of the necessity of some of these classes to understand basic things in the world. And that's where I think this class falls under. I do understand where like other classes may already cover university core curriculum and how that might alter what this course will end up being. But I think the argument is saying that this isn't something that students want, therefore it should be a thing. It's probably something the administration deals with a lot of classes that students don't want to take, but are necessary for students.
Senator Kaufman, did you have any?
Yeah, I would also like to just emphasize the fact again, this will be a non-required class. You don't have to take it if you're not interested. It's just adding to the selectives. You can take it if you are interested in doing it. And again, when speaking to the specific office that was working on this, they do have a plan to get it developed. It is just in the working at this time. This would just be our support of the development of this course as the undergrad student body.
Yes.
I just want to say that I would agree with this. I appreciate the fact that it would be an option, and I think that the fact that it's simply an option and isn't a requirement or anything is really powerful there. And even personally, it's something I would be very interested in, even as a pharmacy major, and I think that it would apply to a lot of different majors, and even just, you know, understanding the health of the world instead of, you know, just our scope here in America.
Oh, this is new business. You have to have time yielded to you. If a senator's willing to yield time, then, yeah.
I just have a question, like, what's the negative impact of adding a non-required selective course, like, that it's not required, it's a selective? What's the negative impact of adding a class?
Point of order. I think questions.
Yeah, questions, and this is probably sorry. Questions have to be handled during informal discussion. We will answer questions since you're not familiar with how we run the meetings. But yeah, typically they're handled during informal discussion. If it's like question or discussion, it's during informal discussion. New business is solely time for debate. But if somebody would answer Suzanne's question, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I can answer it. There technically wouldn't be a negative by any means. Like it's there. If people want to take it, they want to take it. If they don't, they don't. Like there's not necessarily a downside to having an extra course in the set of ones you select from.
Yes.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, if you press it down, it should. Oh, do you want to use the one?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You're good.
Yeah. So I'd like to just say I'm going to be abstaining too. I know like where you guys are coming from, but as Senator Rice pointed out, there are like a dozen classes in the university core curriculum which are agriculture and food sciences classes, and without knowing what the syllabus will cover and what the already existing classes already teach, many of them may already overlap, and creating an entirely new class and giving that elective may not be required. So without further research into the syllabus, what this is going to be,
Do I hear any additional debate on 2521?
I would say to the point of there being 12 additional classes in the School of Ag, whether that be food science, whether that be ag econ, whether that be agronomy, a lot of those focus on a specific part of what this class will be going over. This class is going to be a very brief overview of world food systems, how you get your food, what is your food, how's it raised, how's it grown. We're not going to be getting into the actual food science, like food science was listed on what exists. We're not getting into the deeper side of it. This is purely an intro. If you want to get on the deeper side of food science, then you can take those food science classes. This is a very brief overview, getting you understanding of what your food is and what ag is as a industry. So yeah, I understand there's already classes that exist. A lot of those are more deep dives or major specifics. This is a very brief overview of the agriculture industry and the food industry as a whole.
Senator Williams?
I just want to remind everyone, I believe this may have been covered in informal and again in caucus, but this piece of legislation was an idea that was proposed to us by administration in the College of Agriculture. So just like everyone meets with their deans and everything, this came out of a meeting with our Ag Council. So this is kind of the College of Agriculture senators acting on behalf of the wishes of our administration, which is part of our duty. And they have asked us to garner student support. So a lot of people have been asking, where is the student support? Should there be surveys done? Sure, I definitely don't disagree with that. But this is coming out of the administration asking us to gather student support. And the best way that we know how to do that is right here and is by getting everyone to vote positively on this to show that, yes, there is support and there is value to adding such an option to the core curriculum.
Do I hear any additional debate on Bill 2521?
Yeah, I just want to offer my support in the for the bill, as I think it offers kind of how I would see, like, from, this might be incorrect, my understanding of it is that it's an opportunity for students to really get a very, like, an introductory course on this subject that's actually going to apply to their lives, rather than a lot of other courses on the list that Senator Rice sent out that seemed to be more in depth or perhaps more specific into a certain subject, and this one seems a lot more like a general overview that could be more applicable to a wider variety of students.
As a law student, I'm not in any type of ag or anything like that, but this bill has my full support. I would love to take a class like this.
Do I hear any additional debate? Seeing none, we will move into a vote on Bill 2521. Paige is dropping it in the Slack. Bill 2521 passes. Do I hear any additional new business? Yes, Senator Rice.
I move to bring up Resolution 2502.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2502, opposition to and concern regarding Indiana SB 289 and similar efforts. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open a debate from Senator Rice.
Yeah, I first want to thank the graduate students that we have here today. They're the catalyst for this bill. As I mentioned in caucus, they passed a very similar bill a few weeks ago and have been very helpful in the development and championing of this cause and what it will do going forward after today and after the Senate session. As Olivia said in caucus and as it says on the slide, this bill is just about recognizing the worth and dignity of every student at Purdue. And we do that in large part thanks to the diversity, equity, and inclusion opportunities that we have on campus. And taking those away is just going to be a huge detriment to the offerings of our campus and the belonging that our students are given. So if you have any questions or concerns, please bring that forward.
Do I hear any additional debate?
I want to echo what Lindley said and also what was said in both caucus, my bad, that this resolution is specifically recognizing, as Lindley said, the worth and value of every single individual on this campus. Our differences are what make us stronger. And also, Purdue is such a world-renowned research institution as well, and this is also about protecting all of these research interests and the diversity of thought that also takes place here on campus and in all of our campuses and beyond. Our administration has specifically stated that they will not be making any statements on such legislation, such as SB 289. And so I just want to remind every senator here that we are the voice of the student body, and in the absence of an administrative statement, it is our responsibility to remind our campus, our peers, and everyone looking to us that we respect and value every single individual on this campus and every single difference that makes us strong. So with that, I really urge you all to vote in favor of Resolution 2502.
Yep, Pro Tem Munkle.
Yeah, I second what Senator Williams said. I urge you to vote on behalf of your constituents, not on behalf of your personal opinion. Because of the fact that you represent an entire college, there are a variety of students that come to that college you must represent. And if you do not do so, by making this unanimous yes, I urge you to reconsider who you're representing.
Do I hear any additional debate? All right, seeing none, we will move into a vote on Resolution 2502. Paige is putting it in the. All right, it looks like with a unanimous vote, Resolution 2502 passes. Okay, do I hear any additional new business? It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2503, opposition to Indiana SB 10 and similar efforts impacting voter accessibility. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Do I hear any debate?
The main focus of this bill that this resolution is opposing is the fact that there are not the amendment stating that you cannot use your student license to vote anymore, and instead you need to use your driver's license or an identification card. And so my biggest issue here is that you can, in fact, get a voter identification card for free if you are above the age of 18 and you are living here in Indiana. And so it's a little hard for me just because I believe that you should have to provide evidence of yourself when you're voting. And while I agree that it's hard sometimes to be able to get those cards and stuff when you are not a resident of Indiana, I believe that there are free options, as it states online. Voter identification cards are in fact free, that you're going to be able to find effort to vote here on campus. And while I do think that there are a lot of things that should be more available for students, and I think more students should be aware you can vote, I feel that as the student body opposing an entire bill because we disagree with the amendments may not do a lot of good, especially when it's certain amendments that we're disagreeing with, and the amendments are what actually affects the student body here. So I will be abstaining.
So I just want to clarify that we specifically were talking about the student IDs when crafting this resolution to oppose SB 10 because as student government representatives, that is a specific element of SB 10 that most affects the population with which we represent, right? That's not saying that we don't disagree with other parts of the legislation. We're just trying to make sure that what we're doing here in PSG and on this floor relates to our constituents so that we can have the strongest voice moving forward and giving our voice to the state legislature. With that said, you're right, there are ways to get free voter identification in the state. Just because something's free doesn't mean it's easy to access, and every student here has a student ID. Like we said, a lot of them are mobile, but also Purdue Votes offers physical ID so that you can use that voting ID to then go vote. And again, are there free ways to get a voter ID? Sure. Does that mean that it's without burdens? No. And the right to vote is so important and should be supported. The legislature needs to protect the right to vote more than anything else. Like I said in caucus, Indiana is the 40th worst state in the country for voter registration. Again, this goes to showing up at the polls, not necessarily registration, but the legislature owes it to all of us as their constituents and just to all of their constituents, whether they're students or not, to expand access to voting, not diminish it or shorten it in any ways. So this resolution, again, going back to your concern about it only talking about student IDs, which, just to clarify, is not an amendment. It's just part of the bill. That's how we're tying it to PSG, but we're really telling the legislature that we are your constituents. As PSG, we represent a large percent of your constituency, and we disagree with this measure, which would limit voting accessibility in the 40th worst state of voter turnout in the country.
Yep, Pro Tem Uncle.
SB 10 in this 2025 session is a completely different Senate bill than it is in every other session. So it's a new piece of legislation that the Senate put through. So any amendments, any sort of changes, that's really irrelevant to this discussion when we're voting on this piece of legislation. That's how the Senate works on the Indiana state level. So I just want to clarify that point.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out, just like as you were saying, just because it's free does not mean that you can access it. More specifically, not a lot of people seem to know that it was an option, which is going to bar a lot of people from being able to actually vote. And again, there are a lot of people that go to Purdue that aren't from Indiana, which, you know, would be a big thing, even though a lot are, but you have to remember that it's not just them.
Senator Rice, do you have a comment?
I also want to say I work in statistics, and I did a thesis project on voter turnout for people 18 to 34. 18 to 34 is the lowest turnout group of any turnout group, regardless of state, regardless of the country. That's the lowest group. That's where most activism groups are targeting their voting efforts. In Indiana, in the last major election, they don't have data for 2024 yet. The Indiana turnout from the last major election in 2022 was 22%. So it's very low, and places like Purdue that are a hot spot for people of our age group, if we can do something to improve voting accessibility, I think that's more of a strength rather than, like we talked about in caucus, limiting people's ways to vote.
So you talk about like voter accessibility, and I know last semester we had mentioned like bringing more like voting polls to Purdue, and I like the idea of that, but I don't think that you should be able to like do anything on a federal level, like voting, like without a valid ID. And when you can get something for free, like sure, it's not gonna be necessarily easy, or like people don't know about it, but like this is information that is free to everyone. Like you can just search this up. And I'm also, a good point was brought up. We would all agree that medication sometimes is vital for people, and there are certain medications at a pharmacy that you cannot get without a valid ID. Like, for example, pseudoephedrine for nasal decongestion. You cannot get that without a valid ID. That being said, and because you can do things with that medication that aren't legal. But so why should this be any different? Like, why should you be able to vote without a valid ID, but you need a valid ID to pick up a medication at a pharmacy?
Protect my home.
I just want to clarify, this is a Indiana State Senate. This is not a federal piece of legislation. This is not affecting federal voting. This is affecting state voting laws. And to answer the point about the pharmaceuticals versus voting, I think those are just completely different topics that you cannot compare. One is your right as a citizen of the United States and the right of Indiana citizen, and the other is affecting your body. That goes into a whole different aspect of law and past legislation that's covering a totally different topic than this content here. I think that's just kind of taking away the value of a lot of what has been done research-wise here, trying to relate it to something that's not relevant.
Senator Rice.
I think something that's important to remember too is that up until this bill, student IDs have been considered valid IDs. It's not like inventing a new form of ID and saying we want to make it easier for people to vote illegally, so we're creating this new method. We have considered student IDs valid because at a public institution, those institutions are run by the government. Ergo, through some logic, that is granted by the government. So it's not, we're not creating a new form here to make it easier for people to do something wrong. Something is being taken away.
Senator Kaufman?
So I would say that I completely understand the fact that we're pointing out the idea that this may impact, or not may, will impact voter accessibility, and the idea that you still needed an active, valid state-issued license or ID to get a voter identification card. I understand where that's coming from, and I understand the fact that, like, yes, you will need it to go ahead and get controlled substances at the pharmacy. Therefore, it is kind of inconsistent in state law that you need that state-issued ID to do certain things, but not other things when we're go ahead and voting there. I will say I don't know how relevant everything can be tied together and how well this discussion is kind of going or how meaningful it is. So with that, I move previous question.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Previous question has been called and seconded. This is not amendable nor debatable and requires a 2/3 vote. Can we have that dropped in the Slack, please? Previous question, yeah. We just had to vote. 2/3. Okay. Do we have 2/3? Yeah, we have 2/3, right? Oh, what are we at right now? 818? Oh, I see, yeah. Okay. All right. Then previous question does not pass. Kelby? Okay, we will now move into debate. Back into debate. Senator Williams?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify there were a lot of different points made, all of which have value, but I just want to clarify that the point of this is to expand voting accessibility and tell our elected officials that we want them, as their constituents, we want them to expand voting accessibility in the state. Also, this specifically is talking about the ID that you show when you go up to the poll, not to register. And with that, your identity has been vetted when you register, but then also when you show up to the polls, there are still requirements. There still has to be an expiration date, a photo, and this ID, student ID, has to be issued by a public institution in the state of Indiana. So that your identity has been vetted. This is just the ID that you show when you show up to the polls, and it is the responsibility of our government to make sure that voting is as easy as possible, because voting is the right on which all other rights come from. If we can't vote, we have essentially no power to protect any other rights in our democracy, in our country, and in our state here in Indiana. And so I also wanted to clarify that 36 states in the United States all use student ID as a valid form of voter identification at the poll, not to register, but at the poll. And so we're asking Indiana to remain one of these 36 states, to remain in the majority, and to continue advocating for all of our voices to be heard at the polls.
Senator Poyer?
Point of order, can I yield my time to one of the members of the...
Yes, you can.
Yes.
How much time would you like to yield?
2 minutes of my time, please.
Hi, I just wanted to speak to my experience as somebody who did this registration process in Indiana very recently. I did it in August when I first came here, transferred my registration from my home state. I had to take a bus all the way across town to the BMV, all the way in Lafayette, so significant amount of time. I believe I had to walk at least several blocks in like 80-degree heat with all my documents that I had to dig out of my parents' like storage, and then register. And I also had to have a printout of something, so I had to find a printer. What I'm saying is, yes, it was free, and yes, I didn't have to pay anything, but I still had to take some time off of work or classes to go physically across town. I had to pay that bus fare since I didn't have free bus fare yet. And yeah, and so it's not necessarily as easy as free would imply.
While I think that is a good point, that is registration, and I feel like that's slightly different from actually bringing your ID just to the actual polls.
Twice 5 minutes each, so twice 5 minutes each. I think you're on your.
This is my second
This
one.
your second? Okay.
This is my
You're
second
good. You're
one.
good.
This is my last point I'm making. I would say that I think that it is part of our job as citizens to be educated on all matters. And if that means that taking a Google search to say I can get a free, I'm from out of state and say I'm registering here and I don't have an ID and I need to get a free card online, I think that that is part of my job as a citizen. And while I can agree that it may diminish some accessibility, I believe that there is, again, just with a little bit of research, that you are able to, that's still accessible. And my biggest point here is just there are some points on this bill, regardless of that point, that I agree with. Like some of the statements that they are making in Senate Bill 10, like I don't oppose the entire bill, even if there's some things maybe I disagree with, therefore I will be abstaining.
Do I hear any additional debate? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Resolution 2503. Paige is dropping the poll in the chat. All right. Resolution 2503 passes. Do I hear any further new business at this time? Seeing none, we will move into announcements. Do I hear announcements? Any announcements? Okay. Seeing none, we move to Senate snap. Oh, announcements.
Completely irrelevant to PSG, but Purdue Ag Week is March 31st or April 4th. It's going to be on the lawn. We have a bunch of new exciting stuff happening this year, so please, everybody come. I'll actually drop a link in, I guess where should I put this? And just, yeah, in general. I'm going to drop the link to our sign-ups for everyone to come if you want to help us pack meals. We're trying to pack 65,000 meals to fight food insecurity here in Indiana on Thursday during our Hamburg Hunger event. So please, if you can, come stop by, pack some meals, help us fight food insecurity.
Yep.
President Packard and I have a big announcement to make.
Oh my.
Wait, drum roll.
Yeah, drum roll. The inaugural Purdue Brawl Stars Championship is happening April 6th at 6:30 p.m. in CL50. It's going to be great. We're going to make it the best Brawl Stars event the world has ever seen.
Okay. Okay. Do I hear? Yes. Well, go ahead. Oh, you want snaps? Okay. Oh, did you have an announcement, or we're moving? Okay, we're moving into snaps.
Quick set snaps to the pharmacy centers. I know, like, I don't talk about this often, but it is important to stand your ground and make your position heard in the Senate. I know the pharmacists, we're all like friends and we're all in the same club, but seriously, like that's how we get like good work done here. So send snaps to them and send snaps to the people that speak up every Senate session. I hope people that are quiet or start speaking more because it doesn't matter.
Very much so. Yes.
I would like to give Senate staff to our new public leaders.
Do I hear any other Senate snaps? Yeah, Brian.
Although he tried to share credit, I want to give Senate snaps to Chief of Staff and Elections Director Eli for basically taking the initiative to come up with a solution. No thanks to Boilerlink, so.
Yep.
I want to give Senate snaps to our newly confirmed secretary.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yes. Okay. Seeing no further Senate snaps, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. It has been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn this meeting. It is not amendable nor debatable and requires a 2/3 majority vote. All to say aye. Perfect.